Thank you so much, Kerry Washington. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Democratic National Convention. What? You thought, right? This is something better. But before I get into that, there is an important election coming up. So make sure you vote. Make sure you go to our website, the latc.org/donate and support our work, because that's what we do. We tell you the stories that are happening in our community. It's my pleasure to introduce myself. My name is Xavi Moreno, and welcome to Latino Theater Company Live Conversation. We hope that you were able to join us last night for our first archival footage screening of Premeditation, written by Evelina Fernandez. But if you did not watch it, you still have about 9 days to watch it. It will be shut down on Thursday, August 27th at 11:59 p.m. So you have time. You can visit our website at the latc.org/premeditation. You can also watch it on our YouTube page or Facebook, where you're watching us right now. And coming up in the following weeks, make sure to tune in. You can go to our website, the latc.org/live, where you can find out dates about all our archival readings and conversations that are happening right here on this platform, like Fan favorites like Solitude, La Olla, August 29th, The Last Angry Brown Hat. It's going to be a reading and conversation. This is a Man's World by Sal Lopez. A conversation and reading with She, production that we were going to present to you this summer. La Víctima, another classic. Sleep with the Angels, a new play by Evelina Fernandez that you're going to want to check out. It's going to be the reading series. These are sneak peeks into our 2021 season. Also, we have a presentation of our 2019 production of Home, our 2020 sneak peek production of Just Like Us by Karen Zacharias, and last year's production of The Mother of Henry. Plus, we were also going to jump into our Unmasking New Works reading series at the end of the year, plus an archival presentation of Dementia, more New Work series, and the final production of the year is going to be our beloved gift to the City of Angels, La Virgen de Guadalupe, Dios y Nancin, live right here. La Virgen is going to appear on your screen, ladies and gentlemen. But beyond that, we hope that you enjoy. This is our way to connect with our audience and continue. We know we've been away for a couple of months, but we have been planning and gathering all this information and footage and people together to bring you the theater that you love, the theater that you crave for and cannot get currently. But as our theater on Spring Street is our home today, yesterday, and all the way to across to the end of 2020, we're going to try to bring you that sort of sense of home to your home. So our casa es su casa. And tonight we have a pleasure of having a conversation of premeditation with the designers. So here we go, starting with playwright Evelina Fernandez, Pablo, Santiago, Naila, Francois, Urbanie, and John Zalewski. Hello.
Hi, guys.
How's everyone doing?
Good.
John, you sound okay now?
Yeah, I slid in I had to change computers. I had to move to Chrome. I had to, I just changed to Catalina. It's here I am.
What happens? I had to change outfits. I had to be a little noirish. Naila, you approve?
I approve.
Yeah, right? I'm wearing shorts so that it's this is how as fancy as you get in these quarantine times.
Nobody has so
much. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope that you were able to watch your work live on this new world, this platform. I know we were having a conversation a couple of minutes ago that some of you, I think Evelina, you mentioned it was your first time ever watching the play.
Yeah, because I was in the play, so I never got to watch it. So I saw it for the first time last night.
Wow. Well, as I mentioned earlier, yeah, it was. As I mentioned earlier, if you did not get the chance to watch it, you have about 9 days until Thursday, August 27th to watch it. But let's go around the room and introduce ourselves. My name is Xavi Moreno, and I'm the host of these conversations. And Evelina, if you can kick it off, and then we'll go.
Hi, I'm Evelina Fernandez. I'm the playwright of Premeditation and the resident playwright for the Latino Theater Company. And I'm from East LA, born and raised. And what else? That's it.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Pablo.
Pablo, Santiago. I did lighting and projections for this project. I'm from Mexico. I'm a Mexican American, and that's it, I think.
Awesome.
Hi, Urbanie, Lucero. I'm the choreographer / movement coordinator, and born and raised here in Los Angeles, Echo Park / Silver Lake.
All right.
Hi, I'm Francois-Pierre Couture. I'm from Montreal originally, and I live in Los Angeles now, and I did the set design for this production.
And I'm Naila Aladdin Sanders, and I was the costume designer for this production. I am an LA native, one of the few, and happy to be here and happy to be involved in this production.
Thank you.
I'm John Zalewski. I'm the sound designer and some of the incidental music on Premeditation. I was born in Alhambra, California. My mother's Brazilian.
San Gabriel Valley.
Yeah.
I did not know that. It's awesome.
I was born in Alhambra. My mother's Brazilian. I lived in Brazil for 10 years after, when I was about 9, and then I came back here to study audio and art stuff. Yeah.
It's awesome. It's so great to have you all here. But let's kick it off. I know that Evelina, you got to watch it. Did anybody else get to watch it last night or is about to watch it? Y'all got to
I
watch
saw
it
it last night again.
Oh, awesome. It's,
I remastered the audio, so
yeah,
so I was like laugh by laugh by laugh.
Yeah, I was you know, I had to hit live button. I was nervous. I was doing things that I usually do when I'm on stage, like backstage about to enter. Like I repeat things. I kept like uploading the sound, like so that making sure there's a button to push. This is a whole new thing. But I wanna get started in this conversation about what was your process working on Premeditation, and the way we'll do it is whoever wants to start off, and then if you want to answer the question, if not, we'll go on to the next. But what was your process on working on Premeditation? Evelina, if we can, let's.
Yeah. Okay. You know, originally Premeditation was written as a one act for two actors, and I wrote it because we. Jose Luis had just left the Taper CTG and we moved to Plaza de la Raza, and we were going to do our first season there, and we wanted to do How Else Am I Supposed to Know I'm Still Alive, which is a one act, but we couldn't just do a one act, so we needed a whole evening, right? So Jose Luis is like, write another play, like he always does, right? Like I can pull them out of a hat. Anyway, so I wrote Premeditation really quickly. But you know, back then you could even, I mean, the characters are noir, right? There's your anti-hero and your femme fatale, right? So that, what you're seeing here is the very first production of Premeditation, but you can see that we were already working with the costumes, working with the shadows, you know, and stuff like that, with our very limited resources that we had back then in 1995. And so Mauricio and Esmeralda, those roles were originated by Sal Lopez and Angela Moya, who were members of the company. Sal still is. And so, you know, the thing about Premeditation back then is I feel like Premeditation, the first Premeditation kind of planted the seed for the stylized kind of stuff that they started doing, you know, back then. It's kind of like our stamp, right? The Latino Theater Company stamp of like stylized theater movement, you know, that kind of stuff. And I feel like Premeditation was really the first time that, you know, we started experimenting with that kind of stuff. So, so then a few years later, made into a short film by Alberto Barbosa, really lovely, beautiful film. And then I did the role of Esmeralda because Angela wasn't in the company anymore, and Sal Lopez continued with playing Mauricio. But I always wanted to get back to it because I wrote it so quickly that I always wanted to expand the themes, expand the style, and also include the other actors in the Latino Theater Company, right? So, so I was in Norway with Jose Luis for 10 weeks. He was directing over there. And so I said, I'm going to get back to Premeditation. And that's when I wrote the version that we're streaming now, the 2014 version. Yeah.
Wow. So you said Alberto Barbosa did it as a short film?
Yes, he did it as a short film, and it's a really beautiful film if you guys ever get to see it. Yeah.
Wow. So and then so we came back, and then we did the production was done in 2017.
No, 2014.
2014. Wow. Yeah. 2014 for the Encuentro.
Yeah.
No, we did, and it was
we staged it before, and then for the Encuentro we restaged it.
And then what's after that? During that process, I know a lot of you know, working with Jose Luis and other projects, even with yourself, Evelina, on a lot of the projects. What's that process like on working on Premeditation? All of the elements. That sort of the play already, what Evelina has and Jose Luis's ideas, where does it go next step to what we saw yesterday and what people will see on stage?
I think for me, like, it's a lot of conversations with Jose Luis, you know, like whether it's prior or during tech, you know, during breaks, there's a lot of things that are being discussed in how we're gonna approach the next moment or what things are working, you know, like Jose Luis' style of directing during tech. He lets us do our work, you know. He gives very few notes in the moment, and then afterwards he'll go like, this I liked, this not so much, and then that gives you the clue to sort of know what the notes are for the rest of the play. You know, so I'd say there's a lot of conversations with him, and then the set always, you know, seeing what Francois had done and sort of what were the possibilities within the set, and sort of trying to figure out how to accentuating with light and you know, you always want to know what the costume design is, right, or what movement is, because then that tells you what the angles can be, right, for wearing hats and whatnot. And, and then the last element is like is the sound. You know, once John starts playing things in the theater, then you know what the mood should be. You know, they call it, oh no, this is a totally terrible color. Like the sound is you know, something very like, you know, John Zalewski's like, you know, there's a soundtrack to it, and in a very there's a lot of subtext in the sound. So once you sort of hear that, then you know what the light should be.
Right. I think what's interesting with people, you know, if you're on stage and when you get to realize, you know, first we go in and we read the play and we're like, you know, we're hearing Evelina's words, right? And we're just like, oh, this is what we do. And then it's like a layered cake. And then we go on stage and then we're starting right away working with Urbanie, right? And then it's another layer and another layer and another layer and another layer. And for me, like what I'm hearing right now is usually I don't, you know, with like the conversations you all have between, like, what are you doing? What are like design process, production meetings? Urbanie, what's your process? What was your process in working with Premeditation?
Yeah, like Pablo said, first it starts with a lot of discussion actually at the table. There's a lot of discussion, and there's some discussion off the side with different designers. And there's a lot of discussion about style and then what music for me. I'm inspired a lot by the music and of course by all the actors and all the designers, but there's a lot of discussion about the style, and the music is really important. So with that in mind, I used to, at the beginning, when I used to work with them, I used to want to come in prepared and what's the music, what are we going to be doing, where do I have to dance, and I learned after a while that we develop it as we go along.
Right.
And so I sort of broad stroke it. Okay, I know we're using this music. I know you start figuring out the style, and then, you know, and of course I've done my research, like Evelina said, you know, in this particular project, you know, you watch the movies, you figure out the femme fatale, the gestures, the moods, even look at posters for me, trying to create silhouettes or tableaus. So all of this is in the works, and then I get to work with the actors, and that's another process. You know, everybody works. You know, how this one needs counts. This one likes to be done by music. This one just needs to do it over and over. So it's all, and then keeping in mind that this is all going to change. You know,
right?
You have to come in with an open mind that this will change. Right? I mean, we can come in with this, and it'll change the next day.
Elements.
Yeah, so that's sort of my process, that I kind of do broad strokes at the beginning, then we start tweaking as we get further into the play and figuring out the music. But I've sort of just kind of let it go, and then we will all figure it out too. We with the actors, we develop and create this.
If I may ask a question, sorry, Xavi,
I have a question too.
How is it to choreograph? How is it to choreograph with actors who have to dance with furniture?
Wow.
That was later, right? The furniture came after La Olla.
Yeah.
No, and Javi experienced that in one of the productions as well, and that is can be very tricky. And you see how timing was really important in this, and counts with this particular production, down to the look.
Yeah. Right.
When you stop, when you look, it was very, very meticulous in that way. But it took time to get there, right?
Urbanie, were you involved with the first production? Because that picture of that little room, I'd never seen the original photographs from the 1996 production.
95.
So were you choreographing? Was the music there? Because I mean, that's one thing that came to me from the rehearsal process, was a lot of those choreographic numbers in transitions were in place through the rehearsal process. And I'm wondering when you started to work with that particular music, and did you choose some of that music?
We came in that we were going to use the particular group that we were using, and then Evelina, you brought in, and I think you had another group that you brought in that you liked.
Somehow we settled on. It was an interesting discussion between Jose Luis and I, because I think I wanted to use a different music, but at that time we were listening to a lot of tango, right?
A lot of what?
Tango. Yeah.
In the original production.
No. In the original production, I'm trying to remember. I think they danced to Pérez Prado. But I think Angela was and Sal, they were both dancers, right? So they kind of choreographed it on their own, right, Urbanie? That's what I'm.
Yeah, they did their thing. I wasn't involved with that.
Yeah, they kind of choreographed it on their own, and they danced to Pérez Prado, I think, because like Angela and Sal dancing together is like amazing. Yeah. But with me and Sal's a dancer, I am not. So Urbanie has to like figure that out. But no, we start, because we usually start with movement. I mean, as soon as we start rehearsal, Jose Luis always gives Urbanie time from the beginning. So then we start with the kind of music that we think we're going to do. And so Jose Luis and I were listening to the Gotan project at that time. A lot of tango, a lot of tango. And so that's why we decided on tango music. Yeah.
It has that mood.
Yeah.
Urbanie, I was in regards to movement. I think one of the things that I was noticing yesterday, and I think of course it's also like sound and lighting, but it has, I mean, like, and I know that we'll get to that with Francois, is like the elements of noir, like the sharpness, like there were so many things, like the looking back, right? There's, I think, as we go dive into the noir has sort of an element of movement, right? Of like the smoke and the turning around, stuff like that. Is that right?
The mood, yeah.
Well, noir film is very stylized, right? There's that dialogue is snappy, and there's lots of like angles to it, and visually it has angles and shadows. So a lot of that is carried in through to Evelina's comedy.
And the movement. I mean, I guess because Urbanie said she's a choreographer and the movement person, or what did you call yourself? The movement coordinator. But. And okay, first thing I should say is that everybody here has worked with the Latino theater company, a lot, right? Not just on this show. Right. So, there's been a process of, people learning how to work with Jose Luis, especially, and stuff like that. So Urbanie is really meticulous. And if you guys watch Solitude, which is the next live stream, you'll see. And she's really meticulous about, in Premeditation, for example, like I come out in this office chair at the beginning, and I have really long legs and I'm so awkward, right? But but Urbanie, she's so, petite, and she's like showing me how to do it, and she looks so good doing it, right? And then I come out and like my feet are all like, and so she's really meticulous. So she's put your two legs together, put them together, and then put them like this. So she's really not just a choreographer, and she's also like showing us how to look good from moment to moment,
Attitude. Yeah.
Even like how you hold your hand, or why don't you hold your hand here, or so it's we really depend on her to kind of try to make us look good. So it's much beyond choreography after all these years.
And then the elements of their stage, sound, costumes. Francois, what's your process? What was your process in terms of the difference of from other productions to Premeditation?
Well, like everybody said, we've been working together for a long time. I think all of us on different productions, sometimes all at once.
Yeah.
And we've worked on developing this style with the whole company, and this is the conclusion, not a conclusion, but the results of years of development, I think. And what's interesting about film noir and fueling into trying to do something that's film noir on the stage, is the inner expression of the character's emotions on the stage. Although in film noir, usually they were not comedies; they were pretty dramatic and pretty intense. So it's really interesting to juxtapose the two together on a script that is very funny but yet very dramatic in many ways. What was very interesting in shaping the space in my first conversation with Jose Luis is how do we replace the camera? Because we don't have a camera to frame the shots and only choose certain moments and do close up to the character. So what does that mean for us? So I just gonna.
Here we are talking about theater on a virtual, right? The craziness of it.
So theater, and I wanted to show just a few images. This was Solitude, which will be the next show I believe you'll be seeing. And just to show already that the company had been working, all of us have been working towards something that's sculptural and working with the floor and the space, because the theater that was both Solitude and Premeditation was done in is very steep. So we see the floor a lot, and the audience is in 3/4 round. So we have to take that into account. So when we talk about film noir, well, we're looking at patterns, and what does that mean to integrate patterns into the aesthetic of the film itself? So you can see in some of those images right here, we integrate the floor, and there's always a strong background, a strong wall with some textures and some life into it. You can see some of my inspiration here for the back wall. And some of that didn't make it into the actual show, but it's okay. We went back and forth with some different textures. But then when we talk about film noir, a lot of time we see this. We see silhouettes against brightly lit backgrounds, or silhouettes that are highlighted here with some highlights against a shaft of light, a figure in a doorway, which you've seen, a lot of smoke. So how do we do this on the stage? Well, we try to translate this into a simple, for me at least, floor with an interesting texture, and then a large back wall onto which we could have projections that Pablo did, and then use lighting and use a composition and leave space on the ground that creates the choreography, the dances, the composition.
Wow.
So that was a bit of the process that went between me and Jose Luis. Give me space, basically. Give me a floor that I can stage everything, have furniture come in and out. It should be a dance. And then we needed something, a background to bounce off light and bounce off textures in order to create depth and composition in this one. I can stop sharing this. Sorry, there we go.
What was one of the? Go ahead, Pablo.
No, go ahead.
I was just thinking. I was like, as I was looking, yesterday. I think we talked about it during another production where we say we like the concrete background of Theater 3, and then at the end, I remember seeing when the doors open up, right? And I think was that why build the wall, or just to
Yes.
make it?
Yeah. It's to get that opening. Or at least we wanted that, and it shows in that picture that I showed with the smoke and the people and creating that effect, that surprise in the set. Because we could have used the back wall of the theater, but we needed something. We needed depth. We needed places also to have changeover, actors coming in and out the different doors, back and forth. There's a lot of movement going on. So there's practicality in designing a set that are necessary in order to have a play that functions. And in this case, because there's a lot of movements and things happening that the audience doesn't see, but that we need. That's what we have all as well.
Wow.
I think in part, like a little bit of how the process works back and forth with Jose Luis and everybody, like I was looking for a way to frame the space, right? Because it was open and you had the floor, but then I wanted to have something that framed it. So like I created this sort of frame of light that went all the way around this rectangle. And Jose Luis is like, that's interesting. I'm going to use that. So then it became like the road. It became all the things. Like it just became this thing that it became much more important to the play. But it was like this, and then this idea of the separation of the two spaces was easier to do. Using Francois' already delineation of the main play.
Right.
And using that extra frame on the side.
And to add to this, once he did the frame, because my floor was a texture, it was supposed to be, we didn't want to do a carpet, an actual rug from the Shangri-La Hotel. Impossible to wield furniture on it, hard to dance on, so on and so forth. But Pablo did the frame, and I had started doing some carpeting texture, and then I saw the lights, and I came in one day and I painted a line just at the border of his frame to highlight the idea of a carpet afterwards. So we all get inspiration from each other.
Yeah.
And I remember telling Pablo, and Pablo thinking, "Wait, what did you do? Because I didn't see this." And I said, "Don't worry, it's fine. It's going to be very small, and it's not." Because it was a little bad that I came in a little late, and in that sense, for that aspect. But working, we come integrated with it.
And then
each other's work, inspirations. I think it's the key.
Right. Then Naila is out there buying costumes and shows up with this lighting that's
with no budget, huh, Naila?
No budget. Well, never have a budget. That's part of my process. Making something out of nothing.
Yeah.
It only gets in the way.
That's what I'm famous for.
Naila, what was your process for Premeditation?
Well, for this play, I had been looking forward to working with Jose Luis for quite a while. That this was my second show with the Latino Theater Company, but my first show that Jose Luis directed. So, I was looking forward to the conversations with him about what he wanted and how to achieve it. And once he brought up the idea of Chicano Noir, I just started watching movies and, trying to figure out what that means.
Right.
Using my research books for the 40s and the 50s and try to get a really authentic look to the characters, but at the same time, being true to the economics of the characters, if you know what I mean. Like Lydia is the housewife, so Lydia had to be in the prints, the rayon fabric, and Esmeralda had to be more sophisticated. The rich bored housewife was sort of where I was going with her, and and then Lydia's hairstyle had to be.
That's great.
That was my favorite thing, was that no matter what I did for him, the hair was not big enough, and so I got way out with it. So that, and when watching it last night, that was my favorite thing. I had gotten the hair. It was almost a character in itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I loved how the textures with the black and white films
Yeah.
The textures in the clothes come out more, and they're more important than they are with color because you concentrate on them more. So I love that aspect of it.
What's one of the things that was interesting for me, and I'm not sure if that's costumes, but we talked. There was the elements of noir, and this probably has a lot. Maybe there's sound and costumes and props and stuff like that. But like instead of the Thomas Guide, which I one of my favorite lines because that was my nickname growing up. But he has an app, right? So it's noir, but it's modern, right?
Exactly.
And it has there's a cell phone and there's those type of elements.
It's full of anachronisms. The whole play is full of anachronisms.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. And that is very, I feel like, well, go ahead. Finish with the costumes, Naila.
Well, I was just going to say there was a lot of coordination with Urbanie about how things were going to happen because the Lydia character changed so much that it was almost a dance in itself, and how to get her into one outfit and out of another one and then back into something else. So I love that part of it also.
Yeah.
Great.
Costa Lisa's saying that you're the dream team of American theater.
His comment.
Wow.
That this design team is the dream team of the American theater.
How I mean, I know that, maybe there's costumes from the past, but where do you go for items like this? I know that sometimes I know Sal has a closet full of cool ties and noirish stuff. Where do you go for something like that when they're like, we're going to do this type of play?
I search eBay. I go everywhere. LA is the perfect place for period costumes. So that's where I look first. And then I go on eBay and see what I can find. Actually, the dress that Evelina wore, I was going to replace that dress because that was a period dress. And I didn't think it was going to last throughout the production.
I remember.
I started to make her a copy of that dress, and she loved that dress so much it just fit better. It flowed differently than the copy, so we ended up using that dress because it just made her feel better.
Oh, amazing! I just love it. I mean, it adds it's just a really cool looking and with costumes, with the movement, with lighting, with the words. I mean, everything just comes to play. And I love that also with the sound, John. I mean, I think that there's I know that sometimes even when you walk into the theater, there's already a sound playing, sort of ambiance of the world that we're about to enter. What was your process for Premeditation?
Well, I've been working with this company for a little while. My process is I read the script, maybe. It's not important. The important part is having it read to me in the table reading. And that, and I read that, but I have it read to me, and I can sense what the energy of the actors and what the actual tone of those words are, and what the timing is.
Yeah.
Is it funny? Is it not so funny? Is it not funny? Get that from so I take a lot of my notes about where things go. I jot in the script during a table read, and then there's the designer run, and we get to see what Jose Luis is doing with space, and I get information about how long things take to happen, how long it takes for an actor to cross the set in a certain scene, what the Lotzi is, if a bellboy. Is it a bellboy? It's like walking into the room with,
bellhop.
Bellhop.
Yeah.
And actually, Evelina started talking about anachronism, and it's, that's the thing about this. So it's not really, to me, it's not anachronism. It's there's two things superimposed. So there's a modern couple that's just having a day-to-day existential dilemma about she's tired of her partner and vice versa and all this stuff, and it's a comedy, and then it's superimposed this high stakes murder, really dark setting, and that's where a lot of the power of the piece comes when those two things poke back and forth against each other.
Yeah.
So design run, and then in tech, and then I get to see what these two people are doing. I mean, I've already kind of seen what Francois is doing, but I get to see what it really is like. It's lights on.
Yeah.
And I get just as much inspiration from Pablo's lighting as vice versa. I mean, I think lighting and sound have a lot of fluidity in tech. A lot of what Francois has done is already solid and in place and been planned for months. But me and Pablo's had to do a lot pre-hang, and so he's a little tied to that, but he can change those things. But then intensity and speed, me and Pablo have this conversation about if things are fast or slow, how moody they are, how funny they are, how.
For example, when the bellhop comes in the first time, that became a thing. Because he was gonna open the blinds, and so he's like, what if we flood the stage with a whole bunch of light, and then John is all out of sound effects, and then and then that happened, and then Jose Luis is now we're gonna have Sal turn it all off, so it's just one of those things that you're in conversation, and somebody has a funny idea. We're all and another play that we did, Destiny, we're always saying we're trying to make the 7 cheese lasagna, maybe it'll work.
Was done in another city, you'll keep adding layers to it.
Yeah, I think that's part of it. I think what comes across, not just from John and I, but from all of us, is that there is a joy of making theater. Right. And we're very obvious about the fact that we're making theater. We're not trying to...
Maybe not for the actors in tech, but for us, it's a joy.
It's just how can we make this into a movie, right?
Right. And I think there's that you play, right? I mean, I think for me, I enjoy that sort of process because you're able to play, and then you guys are sort of when they're if the designers, they're building this model, and you're seeing it in front of you, and you're just oh, that was really cool. As you mentioned, the window thing, let's play with that. And and ideas just keep adding. And I think that's one of the cool, things I love about the company too, because the company already within itself is working with each other in terms of character development and their own process, that it translates to the rest of the actors, the designers, the company. And I think that's really beautiful. One of the things that we're talking about, is this world, creating this world of Chicano Noir. Where did that come from?
Go ahead, Pablo.
No, there was this idea of film noir all along, and a lot of backlight and the characters and the costumes. And because we, we're all Latino, I started to say this is not film noir, this is Chicano Noir, and so that stuck. And just to answer the question, I think what infuses it with Chicano, besides just being noir, is actually Evelina's work. It's the humor that is in the dialogue. I think that humor becomes this other element against this over stylized world that we're creating. It's obviously not realistic in any way, but the humor is what keeps it from becoming too serious. The
dialogue is realistic. In a comedy wise, but it's
funny, and so that. But it's a Chicano Latino humor, right? It's not, and so that's what really takes it back home. We're creating this artifice on top of it, but then the lines sort of bring it back and keep bringing it back to where it came from.
We didn't really look at any Mexican.
What are you talking?
We didn't really look at any. I'm talking. No. We didn't look at any Mexican noir. Was there a tradition of Mexican cinema noir?
Yeah.
We did. We looked at Mexican noir. See, the thing is that there's American noir, right? And then what they call noir mex, right? And it was at the same time that, there was film noir in Mexico. But so when I went back to write this longer version of Premeditation, the 2-act, we watched a lot of that, those like La Otra with Dolores del Rio y Salón México, and the difference between American film noir and Mexican film noir is that the Americans, if they're on the lam, they're trying to escape to Mexico, like that's where people go, right? And in Noir Mex or Mex Noir, I don't know what it's called. They're in Mexico, right? So it's a little bit darker. It's a little bit sexier. That usually a lot of it is a backdrop is a nightclub. Oh, and it's really smoky and dark. And the big difference between American noir and Mexican film noir is that Mexican film noir deals with class, right? So you have the pobres and you have the ricos. And so the poor people are usually, they've turned to crime or prostitution because they're victims of their circumstance, right? And so and usually the bad people are like rich, and like they're the assholes, right? They look down on the poor people in Mexican noir. So Chicano noir, what that is, it's just like Chicanos. Yeah. It's both American. It's American and it's Mexican. Right. Because we have the American anti-hero and the femme fatale, but in Chicano noir, we also have the Mexican part of it, which is class. So Esmeralda and Fernando are upper class, and Lydia and Mauricio are like working class, right? And so you can see the difference between these two couples and their experience. Like Mauricio and Lydia are struggling, whereas Fernando and Esmeralda are not, they live a comfortable life, right?
Like the telenovelas, right? Which also deal with class.
Yeah, like they also deal with class also. And so
not in America.
Yeah, but the thing is that so what makes Premeditation Chicano Noir is that it's both things, but like I said, what really makes it Chicano Noir is the humor, right? Yeah. What is called cabula, right? La cabula. And so like the joking, and all of that, and also because Chicanos, we have a saying that's called where we say la locura cura, right? I guess they say that in Mexico too, right? But it's a real Chicano thing to say la locura cura, meaning that comedy is good for the soul. I mean, that's the way I interpret it. It's probably a bad interpretation. It's comedy is good for the soul. And so I feel like that's what makes Premeditation Chicano Noir.
Is there because is noir usually associated with like 1940s and is that when the style was
yeah they were in Hollywood. What happened was during World War II, right? Like there was the Great War, and it was the persecution of the Jewish people in Germany, and so a lot of German filmmakers like Billy Wilder, those people came to the United States, escaping the Nazi regime, but they were all German expressionists, and that's what they were doing back home. And so when they got to Hollywood, they wanted to do German expressionism, but I mean, Hollywood was not really all that into it. Not only that, but they didn't get a lot of money to make their film, so they couldn't do like the big productions that they were being done at the time.
Right.
So it was like, we have one light, you know, that's what we got. Like, so like, well, we're gonna create shadows, we're gonna create this, we're gonna pretend that there's another room, and you know, we're gonna have a, you know, it looked like a window, whatever, because all they really had is one wall, you know. Like, it was like, film noir was low budget filmmaking. Like, it was like, like at the time, it just created into a style. Yeah, became like really famous, but it wasn't meant to be. It was meant to be like, you know, bad.
What's that for?
B-rolls, B-movies.
B-roll. Right.
That's where the B-movie term came about.
Right.
Pulp.
What's the connect? What do you guys? What do you all think that the connection is? I know that there's a lot of connection with noir and LA and Los Angeles. Is that our architecture, our smog, like what, or our sound? Why does LA always? There's always a connection to, and a lot like movies. I know Sal was in a video game with Jeff. It was called LA Noir. What do you all think? There's why would you think that the connection?
I think also because Hollywood is in LA and a lot of it originated here. A lot of movies that were noir were very much anchored into LA, into the LA River downtown. But there's also a sense of LA being it's in the West where there's a lot of anti-heroes. There's a lot of shady characters. There's a lot of shady situations. So I think a lot of it came out of this city, huh?
To this day.
Well, you know, it's everywhere, but there's a certain sense of that happening in LA, and the car, like driving. There's beautiful scenes using headlights of cars as light sources in films, and LA was a perfect place to utilize this with very environment that had a lot of depth, so you can have that depth of field. So I think LA has just the architecture of it and the pedigree of it, the fabric of it, just lends itself to those stories.
I agree.
Yeah, I think
trivia here. Down the block where I live, that is where they filmed Double Indemnity.
Yeah.
Echo Park they used for.
I mean, even the building, right, where the theater was at. I mean, it has this old bank, right? Like the structure, the way it's
Art Deco.
Art Deco and the patterns.
Yeah.
We did a lot of research on Art Deco and patterns and things like that we saw that in film noir because they used what was present, the architecture that was present. It was a lot of it was filmed on location. And then I think that was interesting. Just to want to add a quick thing, because another thing that makes it Chicano Noir, a design aspect for me, and I don't know, Pablo, you can tell me, and John, it's the richness and the vibrancy of the colors, the textures. Because film noir was all black and white, for the most part at the time, right? And then, so there's, when you look at Chicano art and everything that has to do with it, just the environment is very vibrant. The colors are very vibrant. There's a lot of urgency. Not all the time, but definitely a theme going through. And I think in this play, we were able to bring strong choices in lighting and colors and textures, and that just brings up that element to me. That's the beauty of the Chicano community, the artistic community inside that production, that play.
Right. And I think we also have, as Chicanos, right, there's like this, we're like noir in our own, you know, we're still listening to oldies, you know, like in a lot of the lowrider, I mean, that's the elements, you know, this nostalgia, and even with like our homes, the way we dress, our culture has sort of, I mean, it's in Japan.
The old and new, the old and new. It's like the modern world is, you know, intermingles with the old world, you know.
Exactly. And in that old world, new world, I want to dive into the world that we're living in today, in regards to theater and and the way we're doing it. I mean, for those that watched it, I mean, what was it like? I mean, we had to do a lot of work, obviously. There's to bring this play. It wasn't filmed to be, you know, shown. It was filmed for archival and grant purposes. So what do you think of, what was your, you know, thoughts on watching it, and or just in general of theater in this medium right now, and virtually on this little screen here? Anybody?
Well, for me, like I've seen other archival, which is like really just the all you hear is really the play, right? And it's hard. It's hard to watch it because it's never been meant to be seen that way, right? But in this particular presentation, you hear the audience. Like you're in the audience, and the audience is part of the soundtrack.
That's what I loved about it. Yeah.
So like you really actually felt the energy that was in the building and how funny the audience thought the play was.
Yeah.
So that added quite a bit for me in terms of like it feeling closer to theater.
Yeah.
Because we were one of the people in the audience.
Yeah.
And you could see the audience at the bottom of the frame.
They reminded me of
so like, you know, you're like
pirated movies,
unwrapping candy.
It's like someone walking in, you know, late. I think one of the cool, Pablo, I mean, as you were mentioning, I mean, knowing the space, knowing the steepness of the seating, I felt, I mean, even seeing the audience members, like I felt like I was sitting in one of those chairs. I mean, that's, and I think I've watched, you know, all kinds of all these plays like in this platform, but I felt like I was in there. Anybody else, you know, what were your thoughts? And if you watched it or just seeing a play online?
The only thing I like at the end of the play, like it faded out, and I was like, "Where's the standing ovation? Why did they cut the standing ovation?" And I honestly wish we would have had the curtain call. You know what I mean? I feel like that's more of the theater experience. I mean, you're right. Yeah. It was great. You did feel like you were in the audience because you could see people's faces.
Shouting out.
They probably stood up and blocked the camera, and that's why they did it.
That's what I'm assuming. That's what I'm assuming.
Yeah.
It's also interesting. So go ahead, John.
No, I think it was Francois, no? Somebody said something. It wasn't me.
Yeah, I did, but I interrupted myself because I thought somebody else was saying something. That's
what happens in virtual.
There's too many of it. There was other productions that did multiple cameras, so it feels more like a movie. There's cuts, there's edits, and everything. And what's special about the theater? There's many things. It's live. We have a live audience, but you have one point of view. You sit in one seat. You don't move around. You don't have close-ups. You don't do this. So I don't know what it means for theater in the next year or so, or if we should do what you can fix camera or close-ups and multiple camera. I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't know that we can replace the live experience, but I think this was a good job because it just felt right. It felt you were in the play, right?
Yeah.
And I wasn't watching a movie or a play trying to be a movie.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
it was the first time I ever saw it, so it was so much fun. And, you know, just to be able to appreciate, you know, my colleagues, Sal and Lucy and Jeff, and be able to see them work, you know, because we're always on the stage, you know, it's like you're never enjoying the play because you're in it. And you're going backstage and doing whatever shit you have to do back there before you have to come back on. Mm-hmm. So it was so enjoyable for me to watch it and just, you know, enjoy all their talent. And Sal's timing was so good, and everybody was so great. I just loved watching it. It was so much fun. I think I'm going to watch it again.
Yeah. We're coming up in our last couple of minutes. If for those that are watching, if you have any questions for any of our guests, please put them in the comments and we'll bring them up. But I know, like, as you know, as we're talking about this moving theater into this world until who knows, we're trying to do as much as possible by bringing this archival footage, doing readings. What's something that you're working on to continue in regards to this field, to theater, that you're doing right now, or that you're hoping for in terms of the next chapter of theater, or even with this company and this play.
I'm waiting for somebody to hire me. That's
Share that link.
I can't make my own play.
Well, I think we're all trying to figure out what can be done over online and how does it work. And there's different people, different companies trying different ways of doing it and how to engage the audience and how not to be television.
Yeah.
So I think it's tough. I think it, like the next step is trying to find a way. How do we social distance and still have a play that is live? I think that even though there's going to be other steps in between, like whether it's outside, is like I don't know, some sort of interactive experience that a few people can experience at a time. But
we're going to do a play using 6 feet apart, walking, so that we don't have to be close to each other, and we're able to be on the stage together. And man, I don't know. We have this beautiful building downtown, with 5 theaters that is totally empty because of this damn virus, and it's a hard time for our art form, right? Really hard time.
Yeah.
I think we're being hit harder than, all the performing arts, the live performing arts are being hit really, really hard by this. And, we thought we were going to be inside for 1 month, and it's been 5.
Yeah.
So, this is the year that we're all going to look back on, I think, and say, man, remember we survived the coronavirus?
Doing theater online. Well, we're coming up. Oh, this is the last comment or question that we'll have, and we'll end it like this. If anyone can figure it out, it's you all. It's Peggy Portillo.
Thank you.
Shout outs from desde Chile.
Yay! Pepe!
And then Susan, what I really like about the Latino theater is the familiarity of the characters and the language. I really appreciate it and enjoy it. Well, thank you so much for joining us. It was I'm excited. I always get to know more and more about each and every single one of you. For those, as I mentioned, you can still watch Premeditation until Thursday, August 27th at 11:59 p.m. If I forget, it might be on there for a couple more minutes. Who knows? We don't know.
So do they go to the LA?
Go to our website, thelatc.org/live or /premeditation. You can also watch it where you're watching us right now, YouTube or Facebook, or if you're on our website, hello. You can watch it there. You can watch this conversation also if you missed it, if you're not watching right now live. And join us next week for Solitude and August 29th. We'll also have conversations. There's a lot happening. A lot of people putting a lot of hours in so that we can bring theater to your living room, to your house, so that we can continue doing this together and creating community. We thank you for your support. And if you're willing to give more, you can go to our website, thelatc.org/donate so you can take us all the way to 2021 when we're allowed to come back in, hopefully, and into our space. Folks, thank you so much. It was a privilege to talk to you all.
Bye, everybody. I love you all.
Thank you so much.
Bye. Good job.
Bye.
Good night.